here in my garage. Listen, as you guys know, I'm turning my garage, which is about 450 square feet, turning it into a home gym. So I got my weight plate sitting right there. I got my dumbbells. I picked up the block dumbbells on a Facebook Marketplace. I picked up all those weights. I got the rubber floor mats down. Only thing I'm waiting for now is the equipment. We got a cage coming, a power cage. We got the benches coming. We got the pull-up and dip bar coming. We got a whole fitness center coming. The only thing I'm gonna be lacking is a leg press machine. And eventually I'm gonna get one of those as well. As you guys know, I'm into fitness. I always have been, always will be. I've been working out. I used to do bodybuilding competitions. That's something else that we could talk about on another video. But today, what I wanted to do is talk about how I'm able to do this. How can I turn my home into what I want it to be? How is that even possible? How do I have the ability to get a home gym? How do I have the ability to have what it is that I want when I want it? It's because of financial freedom. That's exactly what I want to talk about today. And we're going to talk about how I do it using 3 profit centers coming up. Hey everybody, it's Jamel Gibbs with the REI Education Academy, helping you close deals consistently in your real estate investing business. Listen, I've done this video before, probably 4 to 5 years ago, but I wanted to do this video again, give you a refresher of what these profit centers are in real estate. Because a lot of people focus on one simple strategy, mainly wholesaling. And I get it. You know, a lot of newbie real estate investors, you know, you hear from the real estate gurus all the time that wholesaling is the best way to make money in real estate. It's one of the best ways to make money in real estate. And again, you know, you're going to hear me talk about this throughout the video, but really when it comes to wholesaling, you're only as good as your last deal. You know, unfortunately, it's a hustle. You got to keep grinding. And as soon as you stop hustling, then the money is going to stop. And you really don't want that to happen. That doesn't, in my opinion, and I'm sure plenty of other people would agree with this, but when it comes to wholesaling, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you're creating a full-time job for yourself. Even if you build out a team to do it all for you, you're still going to have some type of input in that business. So what are some other ways that you can generate income in real estate in order to build true wealth in real estate? Can you get wealthy in wholesaling houses? You can get rich wholesaling, but can you become wealthy? And that's the question. You really want to generate wealth. You know, wholesaling is not the end all be all. Wholesaling is not, in my opinion, in fact, it's not even an opinion, it's a fact. You know, at the end of the day, like I said, wholesaling is basically creating a full-time job for yourself. It's not the end all be all. It really is a beginner's game when you want to look at it from a grand scheme of things. If you're looking at it from a bird's eye view, really wholesaling is for beginners. If you want to build real wealth, I'm going to show you how to do it using these 3 profit centers. And yes, wholesaling is one of these profit centers. Don't get me wrong, it's a great way to generate income, but if you're looking for long-term wealth, then hang tight, because I'm going to show you the best ways to make money as a real estate investor. So, what are these 3 profit centers that we're going to talk about? Well, the first one, as I've mentioned already, is wholesaling real estate. So I'm just going to write that on the board here. Wholesaling houses. That's one great way to make money. Again, you can get rich doing this, but you really can't get wealthy. But really, we want a combination of the both, right? We want to make a whole lot of money, and we also want to build wealth at the same time. So another great way to make money in real estate, wholesaling, we'll talk about this in more detail, but another great way is by rehabbing houses. So you got fix and flip. I'm not talking about these strategies through theory. These are things that I've actually done. Okay, everything I talk about in these videos that you see me do on YouTube, I'm actually doing. I don't just talk about it, okay? Now, when you talk about fix and flip, it's not one of my favorite strategies. I actually started off in the business as a fix and flip investor back in 2002. But I quickly realized that that's not what the money is good, but at the end of the day, it's not the end all be all for me at all. It involves too much running around, too much work, especially if you're not systemized. Okay. And then number 3, you got creative or residual income. I'm gonna put residual income down, okay? Really, there are three main ways to make money in real estate. You can wholesale real estate, and this involves residential or commercial real estate. It really doesn't matter, all right? But you got wholesaling, you got rehabbing, which is basically fix and flip, and you guys all know what that is. You watch it every Saturday morning on TLC or on A&E. Flip This House. I don't even know if that show is on anymore, but you know, that's you guys get the idea of what that's all about. Then you got residual or passive income, right? And there is a slight difference between the two. But you got residual or passive income. Rental real estate would be an example of that. Renting houses would be an example of that. So let's talk about all three of these on this video. I'm going to go into a lot of detail on this stuff. I think it's going to be really important for you guys to understand what these entail, especially if you want to build real wealth while getting rich in real estate. Notice I broke that up, right? Because again, if you want to get rich in real estate, to me, you can make, you know, $400,000, $500,000 a month and be considered rich. But that doesn't necessarily mean real wealth. Wealth is generated when your income exceeds your expenses and you don't have to worry about working. So whether you work or not, you're going to be able to take care of your lifestyle. That's real wealth. That's not richness. Richness is just having a whole lot, an abundance of money. All right, so let's go into a lot of detail on these three. Wholesaling real estate. That's exactly what we're going to talk about right now. Wholesaling real estate. And at the end of the day, the reason why a lot of people teach wholesaling as the entry level of real estate investing is because it's the easiest thing to do. You know, and that really all depends on how you look at it as well. To me, in my opinion, I personally think there's other easier ways to make money in real estate. And I'm going to talk about some of this throughout this video. But, you know, at the end of the day, you really want to focus on something that is the easiest to get into, has an easy entry level, and wholesaling would definitely be one of those strategies. But again, I'm going to share my opinion on that as we go on throughout the video. Stay tuned, keep watching to the very end. But wholesaling is a beginner's level. The average profit spread when it comes to wholesaling nationwide is $5,000 to $10,000, depending on your location. $5,000 to $10,000, depending on your location. Okay. In some areas that number can go up. In some areas, I don't really see less than $5,000 being a viable way to make money in real estate. In fact, if I'm making less than usually $8,000, I'm probably not going to take the deal. You know, I'm speaking from experience. Just keep that in mind. You know, I've been doing this for 20 years. So at this point in the game, if I'm not making at least $8,000 to $10,000 on a deal, it's not really worth it for me. But if you're beginning, your circumstances may be different. You're looking to get your money up, right? So maybe you'll take a deal for $1,500. Maybe you'll take a deal for $2,000. That's entirely up to you. But just understand that those numbers fluctuate. All right. You don't need any money, credit, or experience, because ultimately what you are when you're wholesaling real estate is a marketer. You want to outmarket everybody else in the area. You want to be able to pull more leads in than every single person in your area. And that's how you're going to make the most money. So it all boils down to how many people you have contacting you, or how many people you're contacting in order to really make a profit wholesaling houses. It doesn't take a lot of brain power. It just takes a lot of work, a lot of hustle. You can literally out hustle people as a wholesaler, not knowing exactly what it is that you're doing, and make a whole lot of money doing it. You can kind of figure it out as you go on. All right. Another thing, when it comes to wholesaling, this is why I say when it comes to wholesaling, you're not really building wealth, because you only get paid once when you're focusing on wholesaling real estate. You're only as good as your last deal. All right. So what does that mean? What does you're only as good as your last deal actually mean? It simply means that you have to hustle in order to make money. Yes, you can hire virtual assistants, and you can, make it as hands-off as possible. But at some point, it's always going to take some of your effort in order to make money. All right. And you have to ask yourself, how big of a wholesaling business do I really want to have? There's people these days doing 60 to 100 deals a month. There's people doing 5 to 10 deals a month. What's going to make you happy? That's what you have to figure out. And another thing when it comes to wholesaling, don't model your business after other people. Think about what you want to do in your business. Create the type of lifestyle that you want, not what somebody else is doing. All right. You don't have to do 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 deals a month and have multiple partners. Okay. You don't need to do that. You can make more than enough income doing 5 to 10 houses a month, or 3 to 5 houses a month, or even closing 1 deal a week. What if you close a deal a week and you made $10,000 per deal? That's $40,000 a month. Okay. There comes to a point where greed starts to kick in, based off of what it is that you want to do with your life. Most people don't want an extravagant lifestyle. Some do, but that's something that you need to decide. Okay. So at the end of the day, it's a beginner's level to get started. $5,000 to $10,000 in average profit nationwide. No money, no credit, no experience needed. When we're talking about no money, just understand this. And you guys understand, I like to be as real as possible with you. All right. When people say no money, what they're talking about is no money into the deal. None of your own money into the deal. You can get involved with other people's money. You can control real estate with as little as $1 down. So really no money means little to no money. Little to no money means $1 down, $10 down, $100 down. And understanding that there will be some marketing costs. So no money down on a house itself when you're wholesaling, no money down on a house itself, or little money down on the house itself. But remember, it takes money to market your real estate business. So you're going to be investing your money into marketing. That's why I called you a marketer. As a wholesaler, you're a marketer first. That's where your business money, your lead generation is going to come from. You got to put some effort into it. And if you don't have the money, it's going to just take some time. So just realize you're going to sacrifice one of two things. It's going to be either time or money. If you don't have the money, you got to invest the time, and it's going to take a little longer for you. If you have some money, you can drive the leads to you and speed up the process. So that's wholesaling real estate. Beginner's level, $5,000 to $10,000 in profit, little to no money down. I don't want to deceive you in any way. Little to no money down. Because technically, at the end of the day, in order for you to be able to control a property, you have to put some type of compensation down. And it has to be at least $1. All right. So little to no money down. And you will invest some money into your business, or you'll invest time, and you only get paid once. So this is a great way to get rich, but it's not a true wealth builder. Last thing I want to mention when it comes to wholesaling is this is considered to be active income. So I'm just going to write active up here. Active. All right. Active income. Wholesaling is considered to be active income. What does active income mean? Basically, when it comes to active income, that means that you have to actively go out and get the income. If you do not work, you will not get paid. That's active income. You getting up every day to go to a job is creating active income. So this is a way to build riches, but not wealth. Let's move on to the next one. The next way to make money in real estate is through fix and flip. Now, just to give you a little bit of history about this, I started off in a business back in 2002, as I've already mentioned, as a fix and flip real estate investor. Okay, what we used to do is buy, fix, and sell the houses, or we'll buy them, fix them, do a refi cash out, which is another strategy we'll talk about in a minute, and then we would do a rent to own on the property to keep it. This was back in 2002, all the way up to 2007 when the market crashed, 2008. When it comes to fix and flip, this is, in my opinion, the hardest way to get started in real estate. Why do I say that? Well, the reason is you need access to capital. So this is the hardest. I'm just gonna write hardest here. I think this is the hardest way to make money in real estate. And that's why it took me 13 months to get my first check in real estate. But if you don't have access to capital, and I didn't know this when I first started, but if you don't have access to capital, it's gonna be very, very difficult to do this. Even if you have access to capital, if you go into, let's say, a hard money lender, you'll hear investors say, the money is always there when you have a great deal. That's semi-true, okay? That's not always true, because even if you have access to the capital, you have access to a great deal, but you don't have access to the money, then it's gonna be very difficult to get a fix and flip done. That's why I say it's the hardest thing to do as a real estate investor, and it's the most time consuming as well. It takes up a ton of time. The reason why I say you need money even when you have access to money is because if you go to, let's say, a hard money lender, and you don't have at least a percentage of the deal down to bring to the table, then you're not gonna be able to get the funds. Here's what I mean. You can go to a hard money lender and get 100% of your deal funded, but they still want you to come up with the points, which can be 2 to 5%. They still want you to make monthly payments. They still want you to do all of these things that involves having access to money. And if you don't have that, then it's going to be very difficult for you to do it. Now, is this a great way to generate a lot of money at one point? It absolutely is. It's far better than wholesaling, in my opinion. Can it take a lot longer to get paid doing a fix and flip than it would with wholesaling? Yes. So it really all depends on who you ask. But at the end of the day, fix and flip to me is the hardest way to make money in real estate. Unless you have access to capital, then I would say this is better than wholesaling, because you can literally put $1 in and get $5 back if you do it the right way. All right. You don't need credit. Again, just like with the money, if you're going with a hard money lender, sometimes they do pull your credit. It depends on who you're dealing with. They're not technically supposed to, as a hard money lender, if they're considered to be asset-based lenders. A true asset-based lender won't pull your credit. But from my experiences, most hard money lenders, they do pull credit. They want to make sure you have good payment history. So it does involve a little bit of credit. Now, how can you turn this into a no money down situation? Well, you have something called private money. If you know somebody who has access to the capital to be able to fund your entire deal, then you technically don't have to have any money out of your pocket. You don't need any credit out of your pocket. And then on top of that, you can also contact what's called gap lenders. A gap lender is somebody that's going to fill the void. So let's just say you went to a hard money lender and you had to put down 5%, or you had to bring 5% of the loan amount to the table to cover your points and your closing costs. You can borrow from a gap lender. A gap lender can be your parent. It can be somebody with some extra capital that's going to fill the void. So if you needed an extra $10,000 to bring to the table, you can get it from a gap lender. All right, that's a whole nother story for another day. I actually did a video on that some time ago. With fix and flip real estate investing, unlike wholesaling, by the way, I didn't mention this, with wholesaling, you don't take ownership, you just control the house. With fix and flip investing, you do take ownership of the property. And I always recommend taking ownership of a property under a trust. That's another lesson for another day as well. But the good thing about fix and flip investing is you can get paid at closing if you structure the deal the right way. And of course, you collect huge checks after closing as well. In fact, the average fix and flip that we've done, and this varies depending on state to state as well, has been, let's put it down here, $30,000 to $50,000 average. $30,000 to $50,000 average. So that's the average profit that you're going to see on a fix and flip. I know you see these guys making $100,000, $150,000 on their profits, but at the end of the day, that's not realistic nationwide. If we're looking at realistic numbers for your bread and butter real estate deal, your average profit should be between $30,000 and $50,000. Sometimes $20,000 and $50,000. So yes, you can make more money fixing and flipping as opposed to wholesaling, but it's going to take longer to get this type of deal. Plus, this is considered to be active income as well. So let's write active income at the top. This is active income as well. So you still have to go out and hustle for this type of deal. The only good thing about this is you can do less of these deals and make a ton of money doing it, whereas opposed to you'll have to do a lot more wholesale deals in order to make this type of deal happen. But you do need access to the capital. Unlike wholesaling, you don't need any money or very little capital to get started. So what's the next thing we're going to talk about? Let's talk about a way that you can make money without putting in a lot of work, where you just do the work one time, just one time, and you can get paid from the deal over and over and over again for as long as you control that property. And you can do this through creative real estate investing or through the traditional ways, the BRRRR strategy, as they call it today. I got to say something. I don't know who coined the term BRRRR strategy, but that's a strategy where you buy, you rehab, you refinance, and then you rent the property out. We've been doing that for years before it was called the BRRRR strategy, but I do like the name. But you can build passive income when you hold on to properties. Let's talk about two different ways to do this first before I even get into this. All right, you got the BRRRR strategy. You can literally buy, fix, refinance, and rent the property out and collect on that property every single month for as long as you own the property. You need access to capital in order to be able to do that. You need decent credit in order to be able to do that. And to me, it is a great way to build real estate, but the problem with it is eventually you will get tapped out with bank loans, okay? So yes, it is a great way to build wealth, but you probably won't be able to build up enough wealth with it if you can't continually find banks to lend you money to refinance your houses. All right. So what's the next best way to do it? The best way, in my opinion, to buy real estate in general, this trumps all of them. Outside of apartment investing, by the way. Apartment investing is a great way to invest in real estate, but this trumps all of them, right? Is to buy them creatively. Essentially, wholesaling is a creative way of investing. Fix and flipping can be creative, but creative real estate investing, and when I talk about that, I'm talking about subject to. I'm talking about owner financing. I'm talking about wraparound mortgages. I'm talking about those ways, lease optioning properties. Those are the best ways, and they work whether you do residential or commercial real estate as well. So just keep these things in mind. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that stuff. I have plenty of other videos on my channel about these different formats of investing in real estate. But what I am going to tell you is that, in my opinion, if you can combine all of these, you will be a killer real estate investor. Now, when it comes to building a portfolio of investment properties, what you really want to do, what you really want to keep in mind is that you need a little bit of capital to get involved, unless you're jumping in creatively. I've done deals where, in fact, I recently released a video a couple of days ago about a subject to deal we had absolutely no money into. We used the buyer's money that we wholesale the subject to deal over to in order to create the deal, right? So let's say I put in, and when I say no money, again, we're talking about residual income here. I know I'm getting a little off topic with the wholesaling again, but if I put down $100 on a property, I'm collecting at least $1,000 from my buyers. If I'm wholesaling, if I put down $1,000, I'm collecting at least double the amount that I put down. Always want to keep that in mind. But you need very little capital to do this. Most of the money is going to go into marketing and a small down payment on the property. It could be as little as $10. I've done it, right? You don't need any credit when you're focusing on creative real estate investing because based off of what you're doing, you're going to either use the seller or the seller's circumstances in order to create a deal. Now, again, if you're doing the traditional BRRRR strategy, you're going to need some capital. So you will need credit because you're going to be dealing with banks. But when you're doing creative investing, you don't need any credit. You will take ownership, which is full control of the property, unless you're doing a lease purchase. If you're doing subject to, if you're doing a BRRRR strategy, if you're doing owner financing or wrap, you will take ownership of the property. With lease options, you control the property just like you would with wholesaling. And I look for, again, this is my preference, at least $200 or more. It can be $1,000 a month, but I'm looking for at least $200 or more per house after paying off all of the bills. After, this is net income. Net, let me write that down. I'm looking for a net income after paying all of the bills and everything of at least $200 per house. And this is how you build real wealth, right? Let's say that your expenses are $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month, right? How many of these $200 payments do you need in order to cover your $5,000 a month, right? That's the way you want to think about it. 10 of these houses at $200 would give you $2,000 a month, and you only did the work one time. 20 of these houses would give you $4,000 a month. So 25 houses, if your bills are, let's say $5,000 a month, 25 of these houses will cover all of your debt for the month. And you only did the work one time and you're getting paid over and over and over again. The minute your income exceeds your debt, you are considered to be a wealthy individual. You don't need $100 million to be considered to be wealthy. That's not what wealth is. Wealth is exceeding your debt with the income that you're bringing in without working. That's the key, without working. So you do the work one time and you get paid over and over and over again. That's true wealth. So the reason why I like doing these types of deals, and I've done everything, fix and flip. If you look at my old YouTube videos from 2008, 2009, you'll see I was a fix and flip real estate investor. Then I got into wholesaling. I still do those things. I'm not huge on fix and flipping anymore because, to me, it's the hardest way to make money. Why do the hard things when you can do the easiest? To me, this is easy, just as easy as wholesaling. This is just as easy as wholesaling, in my opinion, but you make far more money and you get the best of all worlds. What do I mean by that? Well, I can get paid up front. I can get paid up front just like I would, which will be equivalent to a wholesale-like check. So let's just say I found a house and I wanted to sell it on a lease option. Guess what? I can collect $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 as a down payment and still keep the property, still collect on it every single month. Let's write that in there. I can collect money every single month. Again, I'm looking for a minimum of $200. $200 per house, right? So not only do I collect money up front, but I also collect money every month. Now, let's just say I didn't want to do a lease option. I can still collect the security deposit up front. I can still collect money every single month. But the beautiful part about selling these on a lease purchase is you get back-end profits as well, which can equate to the rehab types of checks, those $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 checks on the back end. And I can also do that on a rental. If I decided to keep a regular rental, collect a regular security deposit, collect money every single month, and collect back-end profits with the equity spread that I build into the property. So you can see, this is the true way of building wealth in real estate. In my opinion, this is the best way. You get a lot of tax benefits, which we're not going to cover. I actually have videos with Miss Carla Dennis, who's a tax strategist for real estate investors. I'll link her up at the top as well. If you're just getting started, consider doing this. It's just as easy as wholesaling, except you really do get the benefits of all worlds in real estate. And if you're doing this in commercial real estate, then you really get to clean up. You get huge checks. You get huge monthly spreads. You get huge back-end profits. Residential, you can create it as well, but it's going to be Residential, you can create that as well, but it's not going to be as much income as you would with apartment buildings. Now, I will say that when you're investing into apartments, it takes a little more know-how on how to do it versus residential. So I'm going to recommend you start off as a residential real estate investor and move into commercial. Now, I have friends that started off in apartments first, and that's their preferred method. But I started off, I'm teaching you what I've done. I started off as a residential investor first. So there you have it. That's 3 ways to make money in real estate. The 3 profit centers in real estate. You have wholesaling, you have fix and flip investing, and then you have building true wealth with residual income in real estate. If you're brand new, these are some of the things that you should be looking into. If you've been doing it for a while and you're looking for other ways, other doors to open up in your real estate investing business, then focus on this video. I think I've done a good job as far as explaining the differences between all of them, and I hope you guys benefited from it as well. Be sure to like it, share, subscribe, comment. Let me know what's on your mind, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Peace.